And so the CIA, interestingly, right after this period when the British Empire wanes, when the CIA takes over, originally they thought they wanted to have the same model of what was called pan-Arabism. And they thought if we could have Arab nationalism and we could establish kind of like a modern, industrialized, updated version of Islam for the Middle East, these people could advance and they could have, universities and swimming pools and like whatever, is technology, jobs, corporations, whatever. But then you got this other group within Western intelligence, British or U.S. intelligence said, no, we don't want that. We're going to go with the older British model of supporting radical Islam. And that's why the CIA started supporting, like British intelligence had for a while, Wahhabism. You see what? So in other words, they experimented with both trying to update and have like a progressive Islam for the Middle East. That's where you get places like, you've seen those pictures, I'm sure, where like Iran has at one point universities and women walking around without burqas. And you see pictures of Syria when the Baathists came to power and they set up basically universities. They modernized. But then the radical Muslims opposed all of that at the behest of other members of the CIA and people who wanted to say, no, let's just go with the radical Muslim approach because that's much better as a weapon, right, to hold back and to destroy and to do whatever they want to do.
Bro, that's the most real shit I've ever heard, dude. That is the most real like shit I've ever. That explains everything that's going on everywhere.
Well, and this might be the same thing. Would you say that they influenced the Shia and the Shui in any kind of way?
Well, in what sense, actually?
So like what I'm talking about is like the Salafi or the Wahhabi. That's radical Islam that's Sunni. So within Sunni Islam, you have like these really strict schools. Think about it like schools within a bigger, broader thing. So everything that's not Iran and Shia is typically Sunni, and then what's Sunni is like the mainline biggest numbers of Islam. It's like 90% or something. And within that, you have these schools that range from kind of like more liberal interpretations of the Quran and the Hadith, all the way over to like the most extreme ISIS type stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that the West, a large part of Western intelligence, probably also Israeli and British intelligence, they said at a certain point around the 1960s and 70s, we need to shift over to aligning ourselves more with the super radical Muslims and Muslim Brotherhood, which British intelligence was already using, Muslim Brotherhood, radical Muslims, because that would be a better way to wreck shit, keep this stuff like from not advancing.
Yes, and I think that's kind of what's happening in the United States right now. They went one way, they kind of built it up to see how it goes, and now I think they're just trying, like you're saying, I've said this forever. The woke left is the ISIS of the United States. They're just well-funded radicals set to destabilize.
Well, the same people that have imported and want more and more Islamic presence in the UK and in America are the same people pushing the woke left, and the left and Islam align for cross purposes. That actually goes again back to British intelligence in the 1920s and 30s. The Fabian socialists in the UK said, let's bring in Muslims into the UK, but we got to start not with the radicals, not with the sort of Wahhabi, Athari Sunnis. Let's start with Sufis because they're mystical and they're cool and they're sort of new agey. So they brought into the universities. There's a whole chapter on this, which is great in the Milner Fabian conspiracy book. They brought into the British universities all these Sufis, and that prepared a lot of the UK for accepting Islam. Now, fast forward to today, you've got Islamic mayors. You've got like, it's called Londonistan. I've been to the UK, and it's like Muslim everywhere, right?
Johnny, you were just there, right?
Yeah, just a few months ago. I mean, I said this back then. It's like what it's a dystopian future of the United States.
Exactly.
London and Paris. If we follow the path that we're on now,
exactly,
for the most part, that's where
the same people who made those decisions and ran that crap for the UK are the same people that now run our country and are making the same decisions for our country.
To what end, though? I mean, because they live here. They're going to suffer the consequences of these decisions.
I don't think
they don't believe Islam. Islam just a tool.
I know. That's why I'm. To what end? I mean, because I think. I mean, it seems obvious that society will crumble with that kind of division. You know,
if you're a Fabian socialist or one of these sort of elite technocrat minded people, you have no problem with society crumbling. That's part of it. You need it to crumble to bring in the new order. So I think
so the idea is to replace it with technocracy. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, Islam is like a broom that's used to like sweep up and destroy, even though they don't believe Islam, and
more like a vacuum cleaner. And then I think
they're
sucked up too.
But and you can even find elite, whether they're far left elite technocrats, atheists. And even like you can find rabbis who will say, we don't care if like Muslims go and destroy. I mean, they're doing that work for us. Everybody talks about the Kalergi plan. Quigley says the Kalergi plan was adopted by the Royal Society, which is to replace the existing people groups with other large people groups, create a big blob where there's no actual in-group, out-group preferences. Make everybody into a big blob, and they're much easier to control. He absolutely does say this, and I bought the book Practical Idealism by Count Kalergi. Quigley says that was adopted by the Royal Society plan to essentially destroy the existing Europe and turn it into a giant socialist blob. Now, what's the best way to do that? What's the best way to do that in Europe? Well, what foreign people group would love to come in and take over and destroy Islam? So the importation of Muslims in mass to Europe and to the UK, which the Fabian socialists literally said they wanted to do and would do by design. They admitted that. And guess what? Same thing in the US, except the Muslim stuff's a little slower because it takes a while to get Muslims into America. But obviously the open border is part of that in America. But I mean, if you read Kalergi himself, because people say, oh, you're not supposed to talk about that. It's an evil conspiracy theory. I've got his freaking book right here. He says it. He says, yes, destroy and dilute the existing people, turn it into a giant blob, then it will fit into a world government.
I mean, look at Canada. Canada's full of it too.
Yeah.
Great point.
I mean, it's just crazy to me that once again, as it always is, we just have the theory of something is worse than real world consequences. Right? It's just like the theory of hate, which is, it's so crazy because someone just tweeted me about that plan, the Kalergi plan.
Oh, yeah.
Just tweeted me about it. I looked it up. I'm like, oh, how can we sit there and say this is anti-Semitic when we see it happening in real life? And the theory of what could come by discussing this versus what's actually happening on a street level is like unbelievable to me. That's like my argument with a good friend of mine about 9/11. It's just like, oh, dude, this is anti-Semitic. But I'm like, but 4.5 million people died because we bought a lie about what happened that day. How is the theory? If you play out the tape, what do you think's going to happen if we discuss all the different intelligence agencies involved? And it's so crazy you bring that up. So everyone's like, Saudi Arabia is involved with it. That's basically British intelligence from what you're telling me. So here we got Mossad, we got British intelligence through Saudi Arabia. We have the CIA. And like, if we have this discussion, according to them, we're going to have there's going to be trains and goose stepping. When in reality, 4.5 million people that had nothing to do with this attack all died.
Right.
So crazy to me.
Well, yeah, and why is that anti-Semitic? Arab people also derive genetically from Shem. They're Semitic peoples.
Oh, dude.
So it's just a deflection to call everything anti-Semitic and hate and all that. Yeah. By the way, the fact that somebody again, if Kalergi himself writes about this plan, and Quigley, who has no interest in genetics and racial theories or whatever, Quigley says that they adopted the Kalergi plan. I mean, that's what tells you what the Fabian socialist elite of Europe and in the UK adopted as their model. And so it has nothing to do ultimately with, genetics of people in the Middle East. It has to do with imperial control. I'm not saying that they don't utilize genetics in tribal warfare, but at the imperial control level, like you said, Sam, like David Rockefeller, Lord Rothschild, they don't care about people's, they're not, I believe Islam. Oh, I believe they're above that. They're using it as a tool.